Herniated discs, sciatica, pinched nerves, and neck pain can all come from your texting. The average person, and I think the number's low, the average person looks at their phone 85 times a day. But also, the average person, according to one study, is on the phone for 5 hours a day. That's a lot. I got kids, and these kids are on the phone all the time. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. YouTube. They watch TV on their phones. They do everything on their phones, right? I mean, you're a young guy. Yeah. So it's a problem. Why is it a problem? Because the forward head posture is bad for your neck. Excessive strain. Here's what it looks like. Upright neutral position, you've got about 10 pounds of pressure on the discs. This is all about the discs. Remember, we talk about the neck problems and the back problems from the disc. 15 degrees, slight forward head lean. You can see it right there, 27 pounds. 30 degrees, 40 pounds. 45 degrees, 50 pounds. 60 degrees forward, which is your typical posture for texting, although I'm sitting at a table, so it's definitely different here. 60 pounds of pressure on the disc. Okay, neutral is 10 pounds. Forward head lean, 60 pounds. So there's two problems. Overloading the disc and a change in the posture. Overloading the disc, what does it cause? Back pain. Actually, forward head lean can cause back pain. Stenosis, degenerated disc, bulging disc. One of the things we never talked about is arthritis. Arthritis is a slow breakdown. When you say you have bone spurs or facet problems, it's typically the result of arthritis, but arthritis is it's an osteoarthritis that's from the degenerative process from the biomechanics. So that is something that is treatable. It's different than rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease. Herniated disc, sciatica, spondylolisthesis. These, you can actually get a herniated disc and sciatica from texting because it's the load on the disc, and more importantly, over an extended period of time, it's the change in your muscles. It's called upper cross syndrome. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. But what do we know? We know that normal spine looks like this. The head is up here, the hips are down here, 24 vertebrae between the head and the hips. In a normal upright position, in what we call neutral, the center of gravity goes directly through the middle of the spine. And one of the things that we talk about is how much stress on the disc and how well is the stress distributed evenly across the disc. The nucleus, so the disc is a lot like a jelly donut. I don't have this picture, but the disc is a lot like a jelly donut. This is kind of the top view. Okay, this is technically a herniated disc, but the jelly is the center portion. And when the center of gravity goes right through the middle of the disc, the stresses are distributed evenly around the outside of the disc, which is the annulus. So we know we have a jelly and we have an annulus. And when the center of gravity goes right through the middle of the disc, the stresses are distributed evenly. But what happens sometimes is you develop what's called a forward lean, which is also the result of what we call text neck. And what that does is it puts the center of gravity in front of the spine. You want it right through the middle of the spine. But when it goes through the front of the spine, when you have the center of gravity in front of the spine, what it does is it changes the load across the disc. It's the abnormal load in the disc that causes the disc to break down. And the breakdown process, depending on how long you've had it, can cause the disc to start to degenerate, but you can also cause a little tear in the annulus. And what happens over time is the nucleus can migrate all the way out to the outside. So what they found is a 1-inch forward lean. You lean forward 1 inch, which is very much your text neck. It loads the disc down here at L5 by 4 times normal. And when you load the disc at L5 by 4 times normal, that disc will break down. So you can develop herniated discs in your neck as a result of texting because of the change in the load, but you can also develop herniated discs in your low back as a result of the change in the load. Too much load in a non-neutral position, which would be in your case of the text neck, the flex position, changes the pressure on the disc. It'll cause the discs to break down. That we do know. Study just done found out that you increase the load by 4 times normal, cause of the herniated disc. But also what happens is you develop what is called upper cross syndrome. We've talked about lower cross syndrome. This is upper cross syndrome. Upper cross syndrome is where the muscles get tight in one direction and loose and weak in another direction. And what it does is it changes your posture, but it kind of locks everything into a position that's not the most functional and or the most stable. This is text neck. Okay, loads the disc over a long period of time, and certainly 5 hours a day, you're going to develop a forward head lean. Oh my gosh. And over time, what happens is you develop postural habits, and the postural habits will start to cause upper cross syndrome, but it'll also increase the load on the discs in your low back. Forward lean causes low back problems. Text neck causes the neck problems. So how do you avoid it? You avoid it by not using your phone, which is not a reality. So what you would do is you sit up straight. Remember, sitting up straight puts the spine in the neutral position. So you sit up straight, put your arms right out in front of you like this, okay, and you text. Now that's not real practical, but what is a better idea is you can put your arm down on your side like this and put your arm in front of you, and you can text like this. And you can't use 2 hands, I get it, you can only use 1 hand. So you need to be a 1-hand texter, which is not hard to do. Okay, so it's just like this. You want this in front of your face. The way to do it, put the arm down here, put your arm underneath it just like this. You get yourself some sunglasses, because if you're out in the sun, it's hard to do it because you're squinting. Get your head forward. So try not to do it in the sunlight, but if you are in the sun, like this fella here, get some sunglasses. Also, if you can get a keyboard, get a keyboard. I don't know how practical that is. Probably not real practical. I think this is a good tip. Right here. Keep it right here. We treat a lot of neck pain, a lot of back pain. Our goal is to take you from pain and suffering to being able to do what you love to do for a lifetime.